All right, good morning. We're going to get started, and we're just going to leave the back door open, so there will be people coming in as these buses arrive. We actually have some of our team on the buses, so we know they're definitely stuck. Welcome, my name is Kerri Sinclair. I'm the Editorial Board Chair of Automated Buildings, and I'm really pleased to welcome you all here today. I guess a couple of things. This is our 27th year at AHR running the free education sessions. I said 27, didn't I? I said 27, I think. If not, 27. Always here to be corrected by Ken. So 27th year of running free education sessions, and that is in partnership with AHR, who is a great supporter of the free education sessions and automated building, but also our sponsors, who I won't go through all here, but are an important part of us being able to do this. We actually started this process in July, August last year, as we do every year. The editorial board, who is sitting up here with me, meet every couple of weeks to start putting together the program. And we're really pleased this year to have an amazing set of speakers and sessions. We have over 35 different speakers across 16 different sessions over the next 3 days. I'll very quickly, you will have this on your schedule. We'll very just quickly go through the today's sessions, which is starting with the session I've got here. And then Tuesday sessions. And then really important for us are also the Wednesday sessions, which are really more hands-on understanding for people that may be new to the industry or want to have some refreshing courses on how to be more practical for your day-to-day in the industry. So today's, I might just quickly go back to this slide. So today's session is around navigating complexity, escalating opportunity today, tomorrow, and the future. So I'd like to introduce myself. As I said, this is the editorial board meeting, editorial board here. We've got Scott Cochrane, Brad White, and Ken Sinclair. So Ken, might start with you.
Okay, whoops.
Take, that's right, take.
Scott's works. There we go. Everybody can hear me?
No. Get it close to your mouth.
Oh, it's got to be really close. I see. Okay. Well, welcome. Like Gene. I've been here too long. Like Kerri said, 27 years. We started in 2000, and Dallas was our first show, and so we've been at that. I'm not sure anybody knows exactly how this AHR works, in the fact that this is an ASHRAE show, that the funding all goes to sponsor ASHRAE, and it's run by International Expos, and they run the AHR show. So that's how that all comes together. And back in the 2000, I got adopted by the Stevens family, and I've been with them, and we've been putting on these education sessions for all of that time. So I was going to talk a little bit about my journey, and what happens after more than 55 years in the business. Like what happens, and well, for one thing, you get this neat T-shirt. Okay? There is a prize, so there's a prize if you stay at it, and but as you're all aware, it's not about the prize; it's about the journey. And as I started to figure out what it was I was going to say today, I figured it would be about technology, because I'm kind of all about technology. But when I kind of thought about my life over the last 55 years, it was all about people. And it was people that found me, and people that I found, that actually changed and guided me on my journey. And the journey's been a long one. It started way back in 1966 when I was in school, and some folks from the industry came to solicit us to join the ASHRAE student movement. And I did that, and then those people became like mentors when I went into the industry, and they helped guide me. And that's just an important concept I think that we all in this room have to do is we need to reach out and grab new people into the industry any chance we get. We kept moving on. When I came out of school, I worked for a company called Thermal Engineering. Then I worked for a company called Johnson Service Company, which was the forerunner of Johnson Controls. When I went there, we were back into the era where I was actually calibrating brass thermostats with pin valves and doing the lid alignment, bleed ports, all that kind of stuff. After that, actually Johnson sent me off for a couple of months to train me as a service salesman in Milwaukee. And after that, I went to be a building operator, 5 fairly large buildings. And I think it's easy, as we're in the control industry, we talk about operations, but actually once you are in operations, it's a completely different thing. You actually have to make it all work, and that was a great experience, I tell you. After that, I got into a new industry that was coming up, which was energy simulation. And we got to remember this was way back when. And the simulation was the first hour-by-hour simulation, ran on a mainframe, and we used paper cards to put it in. So that's kind of where we were. But that taught us to take a look at buildings from another point, from a simulation point of view. That the first sort of really digital twin, I think. And after that, I started, and we started, 1975 was a watershed year for us. We started a consulting company called SES, and it was Sinclair Energy Services Limited back then. And we ended up doing the computer simulations for consultants. We also did specialized control consulting. When we were in the simulation business, we had 5 pilot projects that we worked on, and we did 5 major buildings, and we kind of learned a lot about doing all of that. We kept moving on, and eventually it was always the people that stirred me on and kept me going. Every time we kind of moved from one business to the other, there was always some prime people that were able to guide me, encourage me, and move me on. And I think we have to keep doing that. We have to find those people. They have to find us. So moving on, we because of my sort of skill set, I got invited to participate in a project in 1975 at the University of Alberta, which was one of the first direct digital control systems. And actually, quite a few of the people that were on that team had come from simulation as well. So we were trying to, way back then, trying to get some real data. We understood the value of data. That was a very amazing learning moment, I guess, for me, and also had some incredible leaders there that taught me a lot. And so then I slowly came out of that, and I developed a reasonable skill set because of the crossing over all of these pieces that we need to navigate complexity. And so that was good. I moved to the West Coast, and what was happening there is our system was built on mainframes, computers as big as fridges. On the West Coast, they were kind of coming up from Silicon Valley. They were working with microprocessors, and we started to port over some of the stuff we were doing. And there was at least 2 major companies were created on the West Coast of Canada, and we were using those products. So I grew up with those people as well, so I learned a lot about that. But the message that was always there is it was always the people that were the people who changed my life. And inside of that, we had the situation that when these people accepted sort of my ideas and welcomed me into their community, that kind of bridged that trust thing that is a real big portion of what it is we do. So the fact that they could bring me in, and I was able to sort of ride on their coattails, and I developed trust in their community, and then I was actually able to pull them in and put them back into our community, and we basically were able to transfer trust. What happened then is we did very successful consulting company, chugged along until I guess it was the late 90s, 1999. We actually started Automated Buildings, but before that, Kerri was actually working in San Francisco, developing some of the first search engines and some of the first musical personalization. So I would go down and visit her, and I was totally intrigued with what was going on in the San Francisco startups, and the internet was all coming alive. And so when we retired, Jane and I just about killed each other, so we needed some distraction, and Automated Buildings became that distraction. So once that all came together, we moved along the first years, and then that sort of starts us into the AHR, because that was around 2000, and we're on the journey. The other thing then that happened, and what I'm going to really do is explain, excuse me, why all of us are up here, everybody. So the next thing that happened is I where we transferred the consulting company over to our nephew, Scott Sinclair, and Scott ran it, and his first hire was Brad White. And Brad was a rocket scientist, came out of school with that kind of training, and he knew a lot about a lot of things, but of course, the complexities of our business, he needed some help, and he was actually willing to listen to this old guy that had been around for a while. And so we moved through that, and maybe you could speak to that.
Sure. One, it's funny saying, you started by saying you got adopted sort of into this AHR family, and I feel like I was very much adopted into your family, and that seems to be kind of the way it goes. But the consulting company is now 20 people, but if I reflect back on kind of the very early days, and as Ken said, I didn't even know what I didn't know. And I started tagging along to events like this and some other ones in a couple in San Francisco area. You were surrounded by technology. I love technology. We're all nerds. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. But when I think about what I always left these types of events with, and HR is no different, very rarely am I leaving thinking, wow, I found this great piece of technology that's going to solve all my problems, and I'm going to go back and be a better consultant because of the technology. You find a few things. There's always some new ideas. But what I always left with is new connections and new people that I have found or had a chance to talk to that do make all the difference and have made me a much better consultant over the years, and have always taught me new and interesting things. So this theme of it's the people, stupid. It's not the technology. I really get, and I think that would be my message to everyone here, and especially anyone who's new to the industry. I've been here almost 20 years now, but I still remember what those early days were like, and those connections with the people made all the difference. And I think that's the only reason I'm sitting here now is because of those connections.
Great, and I also think that we're all in a similar stage right now, because we've got both cloud native and AI falling on us. It's a new way of doing things, but ultimately we're looking to the people that we trust, and I think the trust transfer is an amazing thing. I was able to trust you and learn from you. The other thing that I want to bring into this is I learned so much from Brad, because Brad was coming fresh out of school with all kinds of ideas. He was building a company that people could work remotely. So he was setting up all of his systems that they could work from their phones. And at that time, that was pretty early stuff.
That was pre-COVID.
That was pre-COVID by a long shot. As you said, 20 years ago. And he was offering people a job anywhere, work as long as you want. So the whole new workflow flow was flowing in, and I learned a lot about that. So I think the people that you connect with is so important. Not only do you teach them something, but they teach you so much. And you've got to have those relationships. Reaching out to younger people is just cardinal. Okay, then we moved along a little bit further, and I was running these AHR shows, and I needed somebody who really knew what they were talking about, and somehow Scott Cochrane's name came up, and we put him out, and he put together a show for us at one of our events and one of our AHRs. And he pointed out that I may not be doing this quite as right, as quite as good as he could, and some of this crap I was talking about was just airy-fairy and was probably never going to go anywhere. So so he boxed my ears and showed you guys how to put on a show. Do you want to speak to that, Scott?
Sure. Thanks, Ken. So I'm second generation in the industry. My dad started the company in 1967, and just on the people side of it, when I was raised in the industry, I was raised by people who had very strong business ethics, and so some of the lessons I learned real early on were number one was know what you don't know. We're in a technical industry, and knowing what you don't know is the key to being able to communicate with people properly, right? And then the other thing they drove into me as a young guy in the industry was you only have one chance, and I'm talking to some of the young people in the business. You only have one chance to make your name in this industry, and that's it. And you don't get to screw it up. And that's another thing that I learned early on. And I know today we move fast, but we talk about people and trust. And I think that, garnishing people's trust, that's some of the keys, right, in this industry, is to understand that your word is very important in this industry, and you got to know what you don't know. Because folks, if you thought you knew everything, you don't know anything, because the way AI is going to flip us upside down in the next 5 years, holy coholies. And for those of you in the control industry, you know what's coming. It's going to be crazy. And I love how Ken was talking about his early days and how, the tag along. And yeah, this is the time we need to bring people into this industry, have them tag along, because we're going to need a lot more, I'll say, new ideas for the next 10 years. And people, we don't have the people in the room today to do it. It's going to be the people we work with in the future. And being able to understand people is one of the keys, I think, for this business. And then coming to the show, well, Automated Buildings to me was always a voice of reason, because I'm a distributor of the big manufacturers, so I kind of got to hear their voices all the time, which they're pretty selfish, I'll just say. I mean, you can imagine, right? I won't say their names, but you know who you are, right? And understandably so. You have a board to protect. I totally get it. It's understandable. But in the same right, I don't know they always want us to understand what's actually happening. Well, Automated Buildings has always been a place where anybody could contribute. And anybody's voice was valued. And I still do use the magazine as a almost like a checkpoint for the rest of the industry. As things get crazy, the independents are the ones who really innovate. And Automated Buildings has been the home of the independents for years. And as long as I'm around, it will continue to be a place for independents to come in and share and collaborate and learn outside of all the big corporate America. And that's why I'm here on this board. That's why I work with the group, and I love these sessions here at AHR because we're in such a dynamic industry, and I'm so happy to be a part of helping communicate that with everybody. So.
Good. I'd like to just pick up that what happened also in there is I was getting to the end of my tether, dropping off the perch, as my daughter so frames it, and we had a board meeting, and we made a board. We never had a board. I actually went to the industry, and I said, what do you want me to do with this automated building things? I may retire someday. And they said, give it to your people. And I said, I don't have any people. But I thought about it, and then with the journey I'd made, I did have a lot of people. But what we needed to do is we needed to get the voices of those people out. And so this board came together, and we said we have to reinvent ourselves. Kerri had a lot of good ideas about that because that's what she does. She works with large companies, and she'd worked with a lot of non-for-profits, and so we basically revamped it, and we came back as a publication platform where, in fact, our contributing editors and our sponsors can write directly on the site. And I think that's what we need to be able to move fast enough and keep current the information. And also we see it as it's self-sustaining, which I think is an important thing. As we all move on, we all have busy lives, we can kind of keep automated buildings going as long as we can get some support, and it'll grow with the latest and greatest. With the latest contributing editor and the latest sponsor, we'll be posting new information that'll go on within usually hours or days, and the whole publication cycle has been reduced. So I think that's a good concept. You maybe want to talk anything about that, Kerri, or?
No, I mean, I think there was a point that Scott made around, we usually, or last few years on the sessions, we've talked about talent and how to scale talent. And we've sort of started a little conversation around succession planning, which is a session that's at 3:00 this afternoon, if anyone's interested. But I think, in discussions, we've also said that AI is really going to fill that gap. And there's some real live examples that you guys are seeing about how we should think about AI and how it might augment instead of sort of be a threat to the industry. Do you guys want to talk?
So AI has already changed the industry in a lot of ways. How many in here are already using it every day? Okay, folks, if you use Google search today and that little Gemini thing pops up, that's AI. Okay, so it's like even we don't even know it. It's everywhere, and our industry has had some rooted, I'll say, ways we do things in terms of controls, in terms of logistically. Like think about a controls job from start to finish. Think about the takeoff. Think about the design of it. Think about the material list to go with it. Think about the labor to go with the material list based on the applications. Think about all those little things in a controls job, and then ask yourself, can AI do most of it? I think so. You think about programming a controller. Who thinks AI can I think an AI team. Guys, we're going to show you in a session on Wednesday, we're going to show you how AI can write its own software to do things, okay? So AI is at the point now where if it wants to say control the lights and it knows what the protocol is and knows how to essentially talk to the protocol, it can write a programming tool to control lights for you. Say, I want it time-based, I want it rule-based, I want it whatever. And it writes it, you guys. So think about how you do controls today, and then think about what that capability is going to do to you tomorrow in terms of doing control systems. It's going to be completely different. Everything's going to be different, right, from top to bottom. And we're in a labor shortage for our industry. And folks, there is no question that AI is the secret to fill in that gap for controls. Okay, we have a lot of controls work that is really computer based, and a lot of those things can really be done much quicker, efficiently today, and in the future, potentially automatically. So I think that the change is going to come faster than we thought. And really the catch here is the buildings and the data that's within them is trapped, right? And there's huge demand now to untrap that data. And there's huge opportunity that AI is going to create for the controls community in terms of retrofitting systems just to get the data, folks. That's going to be a big part of our business for the next 10 years, right? So even the typical jobs we do are going to change because of AI. Okay, and there's 1,000 things more, but they won't let me talk all day. And we have panels for this, so okay. I'll stop talking. I'll turn it over to Brad.
Yeah, maybe I'll jump in. I mean, I hate the term disruptive, but it's probably apt in this case. And I'll give a small example too. I mean, we're a consulting company. We're selling billable hours mostly, but we had some clients who were sort of fed up with their energy software. They used to track their energy bills and whatever. They're like, it's costing us too much money, and it doesn't do what we want to do. And so we hired a software guy, former controls tech, which in and of itself is kind of a way of dealing with complexity, bringing in people with sort of unconventional backgrounds into what was an engineering company. But he was able to basically, using AI, rapidly spin up basically a kind of a homemade energy monitoring software. A lot of it's Excel based, but it was customizable, did everything that the client wanted. Didn't cost that much. I mean, it was very cheap, and they loved it. Like they're going to ditch their paid software and just have us manage this tool that we built for them, and then now taking that to some other clients who are in a similar position. And I mean, I'm not interested in being a software vendor. Like that's not our business model. But because of tools like AI tools, we actually can almost do that as a service for our clients very easily, way outside of our usual business model. And it was shocking how easy it was.
I think it's interesting, economists look at technology as a way of reducing costs. And so they don't actually look at all the technology that exists just as things. They look at a high level, when is this going to be something that actually is transformational to how we run countries and businesses? And the last one was the internet, which what it did is it lowered the cost of search. So if you think about it, you wanted to go to Vietnam and you've never been before, it was very difficult to find out information. Now you just type, I want to go to Vietnam, and you get anything you want to know. Where they believe AI is going to be is prediction. So they believe it's going to reduce the cost of prediction. And that's why now economists talk about AI, because to them, the technology is about lowering that cost. So I guess if you're thinking about your businesses and what you're doing, human judgment is still going to always need to be there. And that's why we really believe people and trust are find your people and build trust, because everything else really around us is going to be able to get some prediction data and then use human judgment to decide what to do with that data. Do you guys have any stories or anything you'd like to sort of add to that?
Just a quick one would be I please don't think that this is going to diminish is the word I'm looking for, diminish your value. In fact, it's going to increase it, because let's face it, you guys created that complexity that we're navigating. Me too. Everything I did, these bizarre systems that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis were created by us. We need to be able to tell that story to AI to unravel it. And AI cannot unravel it completely without the knowledge that we have in our heads. So our value has not gone down. The value of the gray heads in this room has gone up. The other piece of that is that AI will do it a completely different way. But if you don't have that relationship with the person who is basically making the AI happen, or you can't understand what it is doing, that's another problem. Is we're actually sometimes validating what AI is doing is a particular problem. So anyway, that whole communication, your value is still there to basically check it. We're also seeing the commissioning of data. I thought that was an interesting thing. One of our newest contributing editors is basically writing about that. So that we actually have to commission this stuff. Before we used to check the end of the wire, but there's no wire. It's just ever what AI is putting on the screen, is that real? And so all of a sudden the commissioning industry is actually growing rather than shrinking. So. Anybody else want to comment about that?
That's scary, because we don't know how to do commissioning without on the old stuff. With the commissioning, the new stuff is it's going to be a big challenge.
And while we can look at people who have AI capabilities coming out of college and whatnot, and you have these positions in the trades like Boiler Room Bob, who's been working on boilers for 50 years. And then you got the young mechanical engineer who can use AI, okay? And And the young engineer is much more effective in doing things than in the old days. In the old days, the only way to really train somebody to be a Boiler and Bob was to put them with Boiler and Bob for like 20 years, right? But with AI, the people coming out, the education and their tool set is so far superior to the old days that they can quickly get to the same level as Boiler and Bob in terms of understanding like the system and how it works and how it's supposed to work and things of that nature. But what they can't do, what AI can't do in terms of Boiler and Bob is replace what it feels like. Okay, so even though like we're going to be able to supercharge our techs, effectively with AI, we need people around them who know what it's like to live the lifestyle to be that person, to help guide them on their journey. Because remember, it's your job is just what you do, but you do it because you like it. And if you're not around other people who teach you how to like it, you won't want to do your job. And then what good are you, no matter how good you're at it? So there is that quotient, right? That AI can't fill that gap, and that's where we're still going to have mentors, but the people will develop quicker. But you still got to mentor them, you still got to guide them.
Yeah, I mean the way I see it, like we've got some new staff members who very adept at using AI, but is one in particular. She comes to me all the time. She's like, "We do it this way, but AI told me that's not quite right. Like, why are we doing it that way?" And then I take her through, and usually there's something subtle or something the AI has missed, something we've learned through experience, and sort of you almost have to do those course corrections. So like her learning curve, I can see is the trajectory is way faster than it was certainly when I was there, and even more recent staff. But if you don't do those course corrections, she's gonna be off in left field somewhere and miss sort of some of the really important things. So I think that's to your point, that's where the experience comes in, is having someone still working. Don't just trust them to go off and figure it all on their own with ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, but bring them back to reality, course correct with experience.
Okay, another twist on that we've got going too is, I don't know if anybody looked at what happened at CES, but one of the main items was smart glasses. So the idea of smart glasses is that you put them on, you can actually see the screen. What you do is you send out your technicians with smart glasses, but you back it up with folks like yourself that have you basically have navigation skills, and we're able to instruct a new technician, and we can see what he's looking at, and we see an old panel from 20 years ago that has the fuse in an unusual place, and he's able to tell him that. The other advantage of that is he's dynamically learning as that's happening. So just new technologies unlocking every day are they're increasing the power and the ability for us to make this all happen. But the problem is that it has to be validated, I guess, and only people that can navigate the complexity. And I think that's your job.
I think in one of the things that we've talked about a bit, AI is seen, particularly in the media, as destroying jobs. Scott, I know even speaking to you as recently as yesterday, you're saying you don't have any problem finding work. Do you want to talk about like what the industry is doing and why there is still so much work required, I guess, by humans and where I guess, and I used to say it's a system of systems, right? It's not just a control. You guys used to come to the controlled industry because that was the center, but now is that still the center? What are the drivers really now of the industry?
Yeah, so it's clearly become, as we all know, it's become more of a data game in terms of controlling the data. And when we look at systems of systems, that's, if we really think about it, a typical building today is still very dumb, very dumb. There are still, I don't know, there's probably 50 sensors in this room right now. 50 sensors between the occupancy sensors or the lights, and then you got the smoke. You got a couple of, I already know what's on the thermostat because I'm a controls guy, so I can tell you what the control system is. Anybody know? Who else knows what the control system is? It's an ALC system. The stat's right on the back there. You can see it. So anyways, but think about, like, do we really need all these little chattering devices in this room? And then, you know, because what's happened now is they're all in these siloed control systems in this building. And most of them are really not connected at a data level. Maybe, but highly, I mean, doubtful, right? So as AI comes in and we start to say, okay, look what we can do with the data now, the opportunity is huge because the buildings are still dumb. They're still dumb. I think if you go to a major city like New York City or places like, you know, big cities, half of the buildings are still pneumatic, right? And these are huge assets that are using tons of energy. So now let's throw the data centers into the mix, okay? So data centers require control systems, mechanical, electrical, they're complicated some, perfect for the BAS world. There are so many jobs right now for data centers out there that are going, and there are different contractors on different jobs. It's not just the hyperscalers, folks. There are data centers popping up everywhere, okay? So there's a huge amount of work coming with data centers, and that's only gonna continue too. So we got the dumb buildings and we got the data center growth, and guess what we're not worried about? The lack of office buildings, right? Because that's the piece that's probably, you know, they're being changed out, right? They're being reused for different purposes. Again, more opportunity for controls. So to me, this industry is exploding, and it's going to be a fun 10 years if you look to grow your businesses. So.
I'm going to open for questions shortly, so if anyone's got anything, I'll let you start to get yourself ready. Brad, did you have anything on that?
I mean, Scott covered it pretty well. I mean, my business is a little different than Scott's, but it's the same deal. Like, I'm not afraid of AI. Like, you know, if anything, I'm paying junior engineers to fill out spreadsheets right now. If I can get AI to do that for me, like, fantastic. Like, they can use their brains to do brain stuff and not data entry. So I'm excited about that. I think we haven't even scratched the surface because we do a lot of data analysis. We're just starting to apply AI to that. Like, we'll manually get trend logs out of buildings and figure out, you know, heating and cooling loads if we're going to install heat pumps and things like that. And that's still very manual. And I can only imagine the potential that AI and tools like that are going to have to just supercharge that ability and just accelerate everything we do. Instead of taking 5 days to do data analysis, we can do it in, you know, 30 minutes, right? That's what I'm excited about.
Can you maybe just do a quick plug of the sessions? I think we haven't really done that. Are you planning to roll up just a little summary of what sessions? I thought particularly that the ones that Brad's doing.
Yeah, so later on today, so it's directly following on this, there's a 30-minute break. We have the AI in Buildings 2026, so that's one of the reasons we wanted to tie it to that. And then I don't think your sessions are all tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow.
So you're doing the heat pump, why heat pump projects fail, tips and tricks for success, and the innovative methods for retrofit heating. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think to our theme, I mean, we'll certainly be talking about technology, but in prepping for those sessions and talking with the panelists, and we've got some fantastic panelists, but the themes we kept coming back to is, you know, communication breakdowns, getting the right people in the right place. Like, it was all the soft side, and so expect to hear a lot about that. I mean, we will also talk about the technology piece, but I feel like where we all need help and where we all need to sort of put our effort is solving some of these, I'll call them kind of communication breakdowns. That's where the potential is.
I have one later today, the BACnet, Back to the Future, we're calling it. And of course, BACnet has been the backbone kind of networks that we've all used in our control systems, but it is now moving into the cloud. It has to bump into AI. It has to present its information to AI. So we're looking forward to bridging the gap of where BACnet is now and where it may be in the future. So that one's, I believe, at 2:00 today. So
1:30.
1:30. Yep.
And Scott, do you want to talk a little bit about Master Systems Integrator? Because we did have a
Sure.
maybe that wasn't the best title.
Well,
we looked at it.
Well, the evolution of the contractor. We talked about systems of systems. We talked about data as a primary driver of the business, and the master systems integrators are essentially becoming I'll say the primary method for the end users to get that data. And for those of you who are curious about that and how it's done, and then we have panelists from different industries, including the electrical industry, to talk about how other industries are doing this. So that's what that panel's about. It's going to be fascinating. And then, can I advertise some more?
Yeah, please.
Okay. The one that's really fun is today at 4:30. This is where we bring in the manufacturers of the controls, and you guys get to watch them sweat. So they get 7 minutes to pitch their best product to you guys, and then we put up a voting thing for them, and then it's like a Dancing with the Stars. You, the audience, you pick the winner, and then we announce it, and it's a lot of fun. But it's pretty riled up. It's a good session. So
Elvis edition.
Yeah, it's the Elvis edition. We may have some props, maybe some some people may be dressed up, so it should be a lot of fun. So,
and obviously, Scott, I think you had a great story about the 3 p.m. session, which I already referenced, which is succession sale or scale, because a lot of us in the industry, obviously, one thing we can't control is aging. So, what do you do when you get to a point that you don't know what else to do with your business? So
yeah, we're gonna bring in the private equity side, the strategic buyer side, I'm not going to sell to private equity side, and we're gonna banter a little bit about what do you do with your business, folks? What are you going to do? I mean, if you're a contractor or somebody who owns a company, and you're getting to that point in your life, what are you going to do? So this is geared to give you guys some real practical information about the way that all works. So.
Did we cover the system of system concept? The whole everything we're touching is growing kind of thing. When we used to just connect ventilating systems and the heating systems and lighting systems, now we've got indoor air quality, just almost digital systems. Basically, we're starting to move towards natural language. There's just so many things going on that the task of a master systems integrator is just getting greatly expanded.
Yeah, can we do day 2 too?
Yeah, I've got day 2 up. So
cool.
Starting software platform wars.
Okay, so that one's another one. We're bringing in the manufacturers. We have like the original writer of the Niagara framework who works for Distech now. We have the guy in charge of the Niagara framework. We have the guy in charge of the Honeywell systems. We got Keymon. And what we're going to talk about is what's going to happen to software in this industry, the cloud, cybersecurity, the programming tools, what needs to be put on-prem, what can be put up in the cloud, these types of questions. And we have an awesome group of experts that we're going to do that with. So.
And then I think Stephanie's here to do efficiency is money. Is that?
Yeah, we've got, I think, 3 sessions hosted by myself. My colleague Stephanie is at the back waving. We're energy engineers, so we want to talk about that. So we've got, again, sort of very the theme going through all this is we want everyone to leave with actual things they can do and not just ideas in their head that'll, can float around for the next few years. But actually, you can leave and do, you apply some of the lessons that you've learned. So we're going to talk about efficiency. We're going to talk in depth about heat pumps. I'm hosting that one, so I'm excited. I think we've got manufacturers, we've got distributors, we've got contractors, and we're going to talk about how to make heat pumps work. And then we've got another session on large heat, but we're not talking about split units. We're talking about big, heat recovery chillers, air to water heat pumps, central plant kind of stuff. And then we've got another session on making retrofits work. And I think because we only do retrofits, and I feel like sometimes retrofits are the less sexy side of the industry. We don't always get the latest technology. We're the ones trying to figure out what to do with those pneumatics. But it's important, and there's way more buildings out there that need to be retrofit than there are going to be new construction. So we're going to focus on how to make those projects successful. We've got some building owners. We've got folks that have done a lot of retrofit work, and we're going to talk about how to make those projects work as best as they can.
Is that Wednesday?
No, that's
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
That's Tuesday. Okay. Let me talk about Wednesday.
We've got a lot of energy stuff going on Tuesday.
Tomorrow.
And then just quickly go through Wednesday, which I mentioned at the beginning, is more geared to sort of being hands-on, a lot of learning. One of our most popular courses has been the Introduction to BAS. We've been doing that for many years now. But there's also, I think, Brad, you're doing the 2 sessions or just energy management at 10:30?
I'm just doing the AI one.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is, folks, we got Phil Zito from Smart SBS, and he's going to be doing 2 sessions for free. So Phil Zito, and these are awesome educational opportunities, folks. These are really just education sessions, not really panels or anything. The ones that Phil are doing, but he's an awesome educator in person. It's kind of like he's so famous now in the HVAC world as the trainer. It's neat to see him present in person. It really is. So.
Yeah, and the room's always packed for this, so I would get here early. But yeah, I think Scott, you and Stephanie are talking about energy management.
We're gonna anchor it. So for those you hardcore like educational people that are still here at 2:00 on Wednesday, we're gonna have an awesome BAS session for you.
And we'll be talking about AI again in a different spin, I think, with one of Scott's people. And we're gonna just the really kind of day to day, how are we using it to kind of change how we work in our businesses? Not products, not anything like that, but just sort of day to day using AI tools. And what we've learned that works and some stuff that hasn't.
Tips and tricks.
All right, I promised questions. We have a mic at the back if anyone's got a question. There's one here. Do you want it here? We'll just give you that one.
There you go. So I really appreciate the focus on people, and I just like to close the loop and say automated buildings is the perfect system for people to talk with people, and your direct connection around to that is so important. And the ability,
Didn't pay him to say that, but
what is needed, because of what you've identified, the rapid development of tools, what's needed is a militarization approach to rapid deployment of best practices. And what you've set up is the system to enable that militaristic rapid deployment of this. And we need more emphasis on the human factor, because the reasons why we're using all this technology is to help people. Mm-hmm. And if we keep emphasizing the people, that just refines or focuses the mission. And getting it out of the tech and into solving the problems for people is where you're going to get a lot of attention, and your platform allows that to happen. So kudos.
Thanks, Mike.
well, and if you think about I think the AI applications that everyone hates are where it's been divorced from the people. Like you think about the chat bots for customer service that replaces the person. I think that those are the things we want to avoid. And how this industry approaches AI is, I think you can't take it away from the people. And if we try to, I think that's where we'll go down some wrong paths.
Any other questions? Oh, there's one. Do you want to? It's Justice is just coming up behind you here.
Justice.
Thank you. So we're a full integrator, electronics, mechanical, and controls. And I think our most difficult challenge has been taking our sales staff, who do great in HVAC and electronics, and helping them get familiar with controls and how to sell it. Any recommendations on resources to do that with those people? Thank you. Oh, and thank you, by the way, for everything you're doing today.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
I personally feel like the strongest sales reps that sell controls go to the actual training of the control system. Like they go get some programming training. Not that they go program, but what it does is it gives them full confidence to understand every little bit of that thing. And I feel like selling controls is all about confidence. It is. And knowing what you don't know, but being confident in what you do know, because you know what you don't know, which means you can be confident in what you do know, and you can go to that person and look at them sincerely and say, you got a data problem, or you got a cybersecurity problem, or you got an operations problem, right? Because we don't fix data. We fix a problem that building owner has, right? And having the confidence to understand how you're going to fix it with data, I think, is the secret to a good controls salesperson.
I mean, we buy a lot, like, we're a consultant, we spec a lot of control systems, we help owners buy control systems. I think I said this to you yesterday, Scott, like, it's not that I couldn't care less about the technology, but like, I don't really care about the features that your control system has. I care about the contractor behind it and knowing that I can trust you to do the job and get it done. So contractors who can give me that confidence that they're not going to walk away from the job, they know what they're doing, they're not going to screw it up, and it's going to work. Sell me a 15-year-old control system, but promise me all that, and I'll take that over the bells and whistles and guys that don't know what they're doing. 7 days of the week, no question.
Come on.
Great intro. Actually, Scott, what you said earlier was really interesting about the 50 points that are in this room, and you expanded through this convention center. But to add another layer to that, if we have these silos and we said, hey, control that thing in the back or turn off these lights, today it would turn off the lights somewhere over there because it doesn't know where it is, and we would blame AI and say, hey, it's hallucinating, but really it's the people that haven't brought it forward. So that's the opportunity that you said too. So I think it's really great to kind of contrast the challenges that we have right now, and as concrete as you described it, and then to show the opportunity that we as an industry can actually help solve with the context of the location associated with the systems.
Sure. Thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, happy to, but if not, I might just wrap up with a couple of things. I think it's so Dad is in Vancouver Island. I moved to Australia 20 years ago. I spent a lot of time in Asia and in Europe. And, I do think it's worthwhile, everyone here, casting your gaze over to what's happening in other countries. My background, I worked for a family office for many years. It was a plastic packaging company. And we were on a M&A to buying other packaging companies. We were going into Asia to buy them. And I remember the chief technology officer saying, you would drive by all these packaging manufacturing, so, very manufacturing-led packaging companies. And they would be, silver boxes with closed doors and nobody around them. And then we would drive to the one that we were buying, and there would be, people sitting in there, really old systems, and we would kind of realize that really the people that are putting the money into it are actually getting all of the automation and all of those things right. And the ones that are left are the kind of the retrofits, the ones you're going to have to put the money into. And so I think part of it as builders and thinking about how we're solving the problems is really thinking about that value that you need to put in as you're building it. Because if you don't put the value in and you try to cut corners around what this thing's going to look like, I still have visions of driving down the dirt roads. There would be a lack of infrastructure, not a lot of electricity, and there would still be a brand new automated digital manufacturing system sitting there, and then there's one next to it that's not. And so really thinking about the future of these things that you're doing and what is going to add a lot of value, because unfortunately, as Brad said, you trying to go backwards is quite difficult, and you're not going to get something that's going to necessarily be as valuable. So I want to thank, obviously, the editorial board for their reflections. Many of you may know that Ken didn't go to Orlando last year, so thanking him for coming to Vegas this year. It's a little bit closer to where he is. Hopefully we were talking about Chicago on the way here, so we hope to see him next year in Chicago. It's a little bit further and a little bit colder, so it might not work. But I want to thank everyone for coming this morning. I appreciate many of you had to get up early to get here on time, so we do appreciate that. And just want to also highlight that the next next session will start at 10 in half an hour. This is a mandate by AHR to make sure we have 30 minutes between each session, which is AI and Building 2026, redefining autonomy from people to portfolios. So we'll keep on the theme we had today. And Tracy Markey, who is a great contributing editor of Automated Buildings, will be the moderator. So enjoy the next few days, and thank you again.